The plate was off by one number, and I got it anyway. That's on me. Bar spit me out at 2 a.m. Rain coming sideways. App said, Silver Corolla, BQ 714F. A silver Corolla slid up, window down, my name in his mouth before I even checked. Plate, BQ 741F. Close enough for a drunk brain. The inside stank of stale smoke and cheap cologne. No phone on the dash. No verabglo. I asked about it. He said his battery died and flashed a dark screen. We pulled away from the curb before my gut finished screaming. I was already pissed before he even showed. Bartender cut me off. My friend told me I was dramatic. Bouncer pushed me out like I was trash. I stood under the awning with my phone at 8%, thumb slipping on the screen, trying to get the app to load. My friend did the text me when you get home thing, and I snapped at her that she wasn't my fucking babysitter. She snapped back that I was acting stupid and I'd regret it. Then she left. So when the Corolla rolled up and he said my name, it felt like relief. That's how I justified the plate. I saw the digits swapped and still slid in. I even thought, if I make a fuss, I'll look crazy. That's the part one hate. He didn't talk like drivers talk. No, how's your night? Just breathing and the turn signal ticking. The car felt wrong too. No clutter, no chargers, no mount, nothing. Clean in a way that didn't match the smell. I asked where his phone was. He lifted the dead screen and shrugged, like I was wasting his time. He pulled out before I finished buckling, like he couldn't wait to get distance. I checked my app and it still showed driver arriving. I said that out loud. He didn't answer. He muttered something about the app being trash and said he knew a shortcut. He said it like a statement, not a suggestion. I watched the bar shrink in the side mirror, and I got this tight feeling in my chest, like I'd stepped over a line and couldn't step back. At the first light, he went the wrong way. The map on my phone showed our route peeling off like a paper tear. I told him he missed the turn. I didn't say it sweet. I said it sharp. He smiled like I told him a joke. Then he hit the door locks. That click was so loud in the quiet car, I felt it in my teeth. I grabbed the handle. It moved. Nothing else did. I hit the window switch. It cracked down maybe half an inch and stopped. I tried again. Same. He tapped the dash like my panic was annoying him. I told him to unlock the doors. He laughed, real laughter now, and said I was fine. That word, fine, made me see red, like I was property he'd already tagged. I tried to call someone, but my hand shook and the screen slid under my thumb. I hit my friend's name. Voicemail. Again. I tried 911 and it didn't connect. I started filming instead because my brain wanted proof. I angled the camera at his face. He saw it in the mirror and his smile dropped. He told me to put it away. I told him to pull over. He reached across and slapped my phone down into my lap like it was a fly. Then he said low that if I touched him again, he'd make it worse. Not I'll get in trouble. Not anything normal, just that cold promise. I jammed my heel against the window and tried to kick it out. It didn't even flex. I hammered the door lock button until my thumb hurt. I tried to text my friend, wrong car, with my location, but the message sat there unsent, spinning like it was thinking about it. My battery warning popped up and my stomach dropped again. I remember thinking, of course it's dying now, of course. I tried to take a screenshot of the app screen anyway. It lagged, then flashed the low power pop-up again and blocked the whole screen, like my phone was choosing the worst moment to be polite. We passed the last strip of bars and stores, and the street lights thinned. The buildings changed into blanks. Loading docks, chain link, dark lots. I told him to turn around louder. I told him I'd scream. He sped up like he liked hearing me list threats. Then he said my address out loud. Not your destination, my actual street, like he was reading it off a receipt. I snapped, asked how the fuck he knew that if his battery was dead. He didn't even look at me. He said, relax, like I was the problem. My brain started grabbing at dumb plans. Hit him, bite him, jump out. None of it worked with the locks. I crawled forward and tried the lock switch on his side. He slapped my hand away hard enough to sting, then kept one hand low near the seat like he was ready for something. I saw the child lock symbol on my door and my stomach dropped. This wasn't an accident. This was set. I unclicked my seatbelt and scooted back, trying to make space to move. I started yelling for help out the tiny window crack. He started talking then, finally, but it wasn't conversation. It was little comments like, "You're loud," and "You don't need to do all that," like he was scolding a dog. I told him if he didn't stop, I'd jam my keys in his eye. I didn't even have my keys out. I just needed him to believe I'd do it. He took another turn that wasn't on any route. The app's blue line stayed behind us like a ghost. I started yelling nonstop. I didn't care how I sounded. I told him I'd claw his eyes out. I said whatever came up, ugly and loud. He started humming, a low little sound like he was calming himself. That's when something in me snapped into pure movement. I leaned forward and grabbed the steering wheel. I didn't crank it all the way. I just yanked it enough to break his control. The car swerved, tires squealed, and a car behind us laid on its horn. He shouted, stomped the brake, and we lurched to a stop half sideways in the lane. Headlights boxed us in. People yelled from cars. Someone's door opened, and a guy started walking toward us with his hands out, like he was about to drag the driver out. I used the noise like cover. I slammed the lock switch with my fist again and again like a psycho. I felt it finally give. I kicked the door and it popped open into the street. I didn't climb out. I threw myself out. My hands hit the road. It scraped skin off. My knees banged. I didn't feel it right away. I just crawled, got my feet under me, and ran sideways toward the shoulder. He grabbed my coat and ripped the back seam, but my body kept moving and he got fabric, not me. I spun around expecting him to chase. He didn't. He stayed in the driver's seat, face lit by headlights, jaw tight. He looked mad, not scared, like I'd ruined his night. The guy from the pickup was now at his window yelling, and that's when the fake driver made his decision. He jammed the car into reverse. His bumper scraped and threw sparks. Then he shot away so fast the tires chirped. He disappeared around the next corner before anyone got a plate or a clean look. And then, like a punchline, my real ride sat back at the curb where I'd been picked up. Same silver Corolla, hazard lights on, and a phone glowing on a mount with my name. The real driver stared at me like I was a lunatic in the street. He looked past me at the other Corolla, and his whole face shifted into, oh shit. People kept asking questions, and I couldn't line my thoughts up. Someone shoved napkins at me from my hands. Another person said they'd call the cops. When I tried to explain, it came out messy. Plate wrong, locks, he knew my name, he said my address. I heard myself, and it sounded insane. That made me angrier, so I started cursing and crying at the same time. I didn't get in the real Corolla right away. I backed onto the curb and watched every car that passed, waiting for the fake one to swing back and finish it. I called my friend again, and this time it went through, and I screamed into the phone so hard my throat hurt. She kept saying to get safe, and I kept saying I already was until I wasn't. When I finally got in the correct Corolla, I sat behind the driver and kept my hand on the door handle the whole ride. I made him stay on lit streets. I watched the mirrors. I stared at his phone with my name on it, like it was the only thing proving I wasn't hallucinating. My app still said driver arriving the whole time, like the fake ride was still hovering by the bar, patient, waiting for me to step back outside. At home, I locked everything twice and sat on my kitchen floor until the sun came up, trying to remember every detail I'd missed. I kept replaying him saying my name. I kept hearing that lock click. I kept seeing that one digit flipped like a tiny joke that almost got me erased. In the morning, I filed a report and felt stupid because all I had was a silver Corolla and a plate I only half trusted. The cop wrote it down anyway. He didn't look surprised. I walked out with a case number and the feeling that it meant nothing, like I'd reported weather. Support later said there was no trip on record at that time. No shit. Whoever he was, he knew my name, my destination, and that I was drunk enough to accept close enough. I knew the ride would go bad when the kid got in the front seat uninvited. Most people take the back. This one didn't even ask, just yanked the passenger door and dropped in like my car was his hoodie up, jaw working, smell of weed, and that hot metallic stink like coins and blood. His hands stayed buried in the pocket like he was hiding something or holding himself back. His friend climbed in behind me, big body, no words, just weight and breath against the back of my seat. Third ping on the app, but nobody entered. The little avatar just sat there. "He's coming," the kid said. He didn't. I sat on the curb behind that strip mall with my hazards clicking and my thumb hovering over cancel, doing that stupid driver math. Cancel too much and the app punishes you. Get a complaint and you're done. Lose the account and you're fucked. So I stayed. Pickup was a dark corner behind a strip mall where the lights don't reach and the dumpsters block the street. And the only thing open was a liquor store with bars on the windows. Drop-off said, "To be decided," which is always bullshit. People who don't know where they're going don't order rides from dead corners. People who don't want a record do. The front kid kept turning his head like he was tracking every car that passed. The one behind me leaned forward and stayed there, close enough that I felt him through the seat, like he wanted me to know I couldn't move without him noticing. I started the trip because the timer ticked and I wanted it documented, because part of me still believed the app was a witness. They started arguing low about which house party, which side of town, which friend was a pussy for not answering. It wasn't party energy. It sounded like planning. I asked for an address. The front kid waved his hand like I'd asked for his social security number and told me to just drive out to the main road. He said they'd figure it out. I said I needed something to put in the GPS. He stared at my phone mount and smirked like, "Yeah, I know you do," and then he looked out the windshield again like I was background noise. I pulled off anyway, because sitting back there felt worse, like waiting for the third guy gave them time to decide how to do whatever they were doing. 2 turns later, the one behind me started kicking my seat. Not restless tapping. Hard kicks that shoved the seat frame into my spine and bumped my arms on the wheel. The car drifted and I corrected fast, heart thumping in my throat. I told him to stop. I didn't yell yet, but my voice came out tight. He kicked again, harder, like he wanted me to flinch. The front kid laughed under his breath and said something like I was soft. I told him, louder now, "I'm not playing, stop hitting my seat." Behind me, I heard a low chuckle, and then the kicking paused, and that pause felt like a hand closing around the back of my neck. The front kid leaned in and pointed out the window. "Cut down that alley, it's faster." The alley was a narrow slice between garages and a fence. No lights, no houses looking out, just black. It didn't match anything they'd argued about. It didn't match any route to any party. It matched getting me out of sight. My stomach clenched so hard it hurt. I said I'd stay on the main road. I tried to make it sound like a normal driver decision, like I cared about potholes or construction. The kid's smile dropped. He slid his hand over and put on my gear shift, casual like buddies do, except we weren't buddies, and his fingers brushed my keys. That touch hit me like a slap. His other hand came out of the hoodie with something tucked in his palm. Metal flashed when he shifted it. It wasn't a clean knife, not some big movie blade. It looked like a short tool or a broken piece of something sharp, the kind you can hide and still wreck someone with. He kept it low near his thigh, but angled it so I'd catch the glint. "We're in a hurry, man." Behind me, the big one stopped breathing loud and started breathing quiet, listening. My brain tried to do that coward thing where it negotiates with itself. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe if I do what they want, they'll leave. Then another part of me pictured the alley swallowing my headlights and the doors opening and my keys leaving my ignition. And I felt this hot rush of anger at myself for even considering it. Rating flashed in my head. Complaint. Deactivation. Then my own voice in my skull went, "Fuck that." I pressed the gas and committed to the only thing I trusted in that neighborhood. A 24-hour gas station lit up like a damn spaceship. White lights, glass doors, cameras, somebody awake behind a counter. The car surged. The kid's hand jumped off the gear shift like he'd touched something burning. He cursed and shifted in his seat. Behind me, the big one moved fast, and I heard the seatbelt click like he'd unbuckled, like he was ready to launch forward. I laid on the horn and didn't let up. The sound filled the car and made my teeth vibrate, but I wanted eyes on me. I wanted witnesses. I wanted them to feel seen. The front kid slapped the dashboard and called me crazy, said I was making a scene, said he'd report me. He kept trying to keep his voice controlled, like he was still in charge, but it cracked at the edges. The big one behind me muttered something I couldn't make out, then kicked my seat once more, a hard final kick like punctuation. I held the wheel straight and aimed for the pumps like my life depended on fluorescent lighting, because it did. When I pulled into the lot, I didn't glide in normal. I shot in and braked hard right by the station door. The attendant looked up from his phone. A guy at a pump turned with his nozzle still in hand. Two other people near the trash can and ice cooler glanced over. I kept the horn down another second, just to lock their attention in place. Then I stopped. The sudden quiet inside my car rang louder than the horn. The back passenger started yanking his door handle. Child locks. The door didn't open. He yanked again, harder, then started pounding the window with the side of his fist, over and over, making the glass rattle in the frame. The front kid leaned toward me and got close enough that I smelled sweat and smoke and cheap cologne. He hissed that I was going to get fucked up if I didn't unlock the doors. He flashed that metal thing again, quick, low, like a reminder, then tucked it back in his hoodie pocket like he'd done it 100 times. My hand shook on the wheel. I didn't reach for my phone. I didn't reach for anything. I just kept my eyes forward and my finger hovered over unlock, waiting, watching the people outside keep watching. The guy with the truck stared hard now, like he was trying to figure out if he should step in or step back. The attendant's head tilted, and I saw him shift his weight like he might hit a button under the counter or grab his own phone. That tiny movement outside was enough. The big one behind me stopped pounding and started cursing at his friend like he didn't want the attention. The front kid's posture changed too. His shoulders tightened. His eyes flicked to the cameras, to the people, to my keys. He didn't look fearless anymore. He looked annoyed, like the plan got messy. "Unlock it," he snapped, and then, softer like he was trying to sound reasonable, said they'd just walk. Like I'd inconvenienced them. I hit unlock. Both doors opened fast. The big one spilled out first, hood up, head down, moving with that stiff, angry walk. The front kid got out second, slower, like he wanted to keep the last shred of control. Before he shut the door, he leaned back in just enough to get my plate in his eyes. I saw him do it. I saw his gaze lock on those numbers and store them. That part scared me more than the metal flash because it felt patient. He closed the door without slamming it, like he was making a point. Then they crossed the street and vanished between the buildings, slipping into the dark like it was theirs. I sat there a full minute with my hands still at 10 and 2, heart hammering, throat dry, legs buzzing like I'd run. Nobody came to my window. Nobody asked if I was okay. People looked away once the show ended. I ended the ride on the app, and my thumb hit the wrong button first because it wouldn't stop shaking. No tip, obviously. 1-star rating popped up later with dangerous driver attached. Dangerous driver. I laughed once, ugly and sharp, because what else do you do with that? Uber asked for my side once, then closed the ticket. One little form, one little automated message about community guidelines, then nothing. No call, no follow-up, no hey, almost got carjacked. Just a closed case and a stain on my profile like I was the problem. The next few nights, I kept driving because bills don't care about trauma. But I started scanning every pickup spot like I was hunting mines. I avoided dark lots. I canceled more and watched my acceptance rate drop. I jumped every time someone reached for the front door. I hated myself for it, hated them for putting that in me. A week later, I had the local news on while I ate, half listening, try to pretend my life was normal. They ran a clip about a string of carjackings and one stabbing, all tied to ride-hail pickups in dark corners. They showed a grainy still from a security camera outside a convenience store. 2 hoodies, one kid in front, one heavy behind. Same posture, same dead-eyed look. Then a clear doorbell cam shot, and my stomach fell through my ribs because it was them. Same hoodies, same hands, same way the front one carried himself like he deserved your keys. The reporter said suspected, said pattern, said one victim hospitalized, and the words blurred because all I could see was my own steering wheel, my own gear shift, his hand on it, that glint of metal. I sat there staring at their faces on my TV, and I realized how close I'd been to becoming just another dot on that map, another guy who cooperated and didn't come out okay. My 1 star sat on my account like a joke, like a bruise the app gave me for not letting them drag me into the dark. That 1 star should have been on them. He called me princess in the private message after the ride, and the app shouldn't have let that happen. That's how this started. Short trip home from friend's place, 11 p.m., stone sober. Driver was mid-30s, quiet, too many air fresheners. I gave 5 stars, forgot about him. Next morning, there was a new message in the app. Had fun talking last night, princess. You live in a nice area. We hadn't talked. I reported it. Support sent a canned, we've reminded the driver of our policies. I stared at that sentence like it was supposed to fix anything. Reminded, like he'd bumped into me at a grocery store and got carried away. I wrote back that I didn't consent to being messaged, that he mentioned where I live, that I wanted him blocked from matching with me. They thanked me for my report and told me they take safety seriously. Then they went quiet. A few days later, I requested a ride in the middle of the afternoon. Another driver accepted. Then the screen flickered and swapped to him. Reassigned due to availability. My stomach did that hard drop, like missing a step on stairs. I canceled. The app charged me a fee. I paid it anyway because I wasn't getting in that car. I requested again, got someone else, watched it swap back to him again. It felt like the app was handing me to him and pretending it was neutral. Over the next month, his name kept popping up as my assigned driver, no matter where I was. Different sides of town, different times of day. Sometimes another car would accept my request. Then it would mysteriously switch to him at the last second. Reassigned due to availability. I started doing it like a ritual. Request, stare at the profile, scan the face, scan the car, then breathe. When it flipped to him, my thumb hit cancel without me thinking. I took screenshots of every reassignment because I couldn't stand how easy it was for them to deny it later. The cancellations piled up. The fees piled up. I started eating the cost like it was the price of not letting a stranger trap me in a moving box. I called support. I emailed. I sent the screenshots. I kept my messages short and cold because if you sound scared, they treat you like you're hysterical. They sent back the same corporate sludge about safety and policies and how they can't guarantee future matches. One rep suggested I verify the driver before entering the vehicle, like I hadn't been staring at that screen until my eyes hurt. Another told me to just keep canceling and we'll review if there's a pattern. I said there's a pattern, it's right in the screenshots you asked for. Do you want me to draw it in crayon? They responded with another thank you and a promise to escalate. Nothing changed. I started testing it just to see if I was losing my mind. I ordered from a grocery store miles from my place. I ordered from a friend's apartment across town. I ordered in broad daylight with people all around. He still got assigned. Sometimes it would show a different driver for a minute, then flip to him right when I was about to step outside. It felt personal. Either he'd found some trick to grab my rides, or the system was broken in the one way that mattered, and nobody cared because the broken piece was invisible unless you were the one living inside it. I told friends. One of them tried to laugh it off, said drivers get assigned randomly, said maybe he just likes the area. I snapped at her. I asked if she'd be cool with a stranger calling her pet names and talking about her neighborhood like it was his. She went quiet and did that face people do when they realize they've been an asshole but don't want to apologize. Another friend told me I should post about it online, tag the company, make noise. I couldn't. I didn't want my name and my street and my routine turned into content for strangers. I didn't want him seeing it and getting off on how scared I was. I canceled every time I saw his face. Once he still showed up, idling outside my building with his app off, claiming he just happened to be in the neighborhood. I hadn't requested a ride. I was grabbing a package from the lobby. I saw his car across the street. Lights off, engine running, positioned like he had a clean view of the entrance. He lifted his hand in this slow wave like we were friends. That wave made my skin crawl because it assumed I'd play along. I backed into the lobby and let the door close. I went upstairs and took a picture of his plate through the blinds. He sat there for 15 minutes, never requested, never moving. I called the non-emergency number and explained it as calmly as I could. The dispatcher kept asking if he'd threatened me, if he'd touched me, if he'd tried to come inside. I kept saying he's here, he's watching, he knows my area, he keeps getting assigned to me after I reported him. She told me they could send someone to drive by. By the time a cruiser rolled through, he drifted off like he'd been timing it. After that, I deleted the app. I thought starving it would end it. I changed my routes home. I stopped ordering food. I kept my curtains shut. I hated how fast my apartment stopped feeling like mine and started feeling like a place I hid inside. I started checking the street before I left, like a habit I couldn't shake. I kept telling myself I was being smart, but it felt like he'd reached into my day and rearranged it without ever touching me. One night, I slipped and forgot to check. Only noticed when we passed my normal turn. I'd worked late, phone low, brain fried, and I ordered on autopilot. I got in fast, buckled without looking up, and stared at the map. Then I caught his eyes in the mirror and my throat closed. My body recognized him before my brain caught up. He didn't greet me. He didn't do the friendly driver voice. He just drove like we were already in the middle of something I never agreed to start. We hit the intersection where he should have turned left toward my building, and he went straight. The app showed the route, still heading to my place. But he took the long way, circling, looping streets that didn't make sense unless you wanted time. I grabbed the door handle. It didn't open. I hit the lock button on my side. The little lock light stayed down. I tried again, harder, stupidly, like the car would suddenly care that I was scared. Nothing. My heart started punching my ribs. I looked for people, for a place with lights, for a red light, for anything that meant witnesses. Then he started talking. Not small talk. Inventory. He narrated my habits back to me. How often I ordered. What days, what bars I liked. He knew which nights I came home with takeout and which nights I carried grocery bags. He knew the corner I used when I walked from the train. He knew I sometimes got home with wet hair. He memorized my week. He said it like it proved we had a connection, like I should feel flattered. All I felt was exposed. Every detail sounded like a hand on my neck. I told him to pull over. He laughed, said he'd get me home safe like always. I pulled my phone up and said I'd call 911. He barely looked at it. He kept that steady voice, like he was calming a dog, and said there was no need to get dramatic. That calm scared me more than shouting. Calm means he's not improvising. Calm means he already decided what I was to him. He drove slower, like he wanted to stretch the moment until I stopped fighting. I slid my belt off with shaking hands and kicked the back of his seat until he swore and hit the brakes. The car lurched. When we lurched, I reached forward, mashed the unlock switch, and bailed at a red light, half rolling onto the sidewalk. My palm tore. My shoulder slammed. I didn't wait to see if he got out. I ran toward light and people and noise because darkness suddenly felt like a closed room. He shouted my name out the window, furious now, not sweet. You're overreacting. Like I was dumping him, not escaping him. People stared. Nobody moved. I shoved into a convenience store and planted myself by the counter, shaking so hard my teeth clicked. The clerk looked outside, saw the car lingering, and his face changed. He grabbed his phone. The car peeled away. I sent everything, screenshots, dash cam clip from a friend's car who caught him parked outside my building, the plate photo to the company and the cops. Uber finally banned him. Police took a report. The officer asked why I'd gotten in if I'd reported him. Like forgetting to check a screen is a bigger crime than locking a passenger in a car. I felt my face burn, and I still heard myself say sorry, like that mattered. The company emailed back days later with careful wording about appropriate action and driver access removed, like my fear was a ticket they closed out. For weeks after, every time a car slowed near the curb, my body braced. I kept checking my street from the window before I left. I bought a cheap door camera because I couldn't stand not knowing who was outside my door. I stopped trusting the idea of band because I'd watched the system ignore me until I bled on a sidewalk. 2 months later, a different app matched me with a new driver. Different name, stock photo, same car, same plate. I didn't get in.